Hey guys, my name is Dlamini and welcome back to my channel. Glad to have you back, glad to see me being back, but I'm excited to be here. So what I wanted to do for today's episode is just go back to some of my original content or what I'd planned for this channel, and that's to talk about career related content. So basically that's what I'll be talking about and my current experiences with the job change and some of the changes that have been happening recently in my career. So we're going to jump into that. I wanted to call this episode is basically working in corporate, and as I've started a new job in the new year, it's a different environment, it's a different industry. So basically there's a few things that I've noted from my personal experience, and I hope that it's going to help you, motivate you, as it also will allow me to kind of document and see where I am currently in my experience and reflect on it a few years later to see whether I've grown, whether my thinking process is still the same, whether I'd still advise the same things. So we're going to look at that. So I still have my notes, I still have a notebook, so I'll just be looking down as and when. So the first segment that we're going to look at is getting in. So if you've watched my previous episodes, you'd see that I do advocate a lot for LinkedIn. LinkedIn for me is an amazing platform. You can do a lot. You socialize, you look for work, you network, you can acquire new skills. It's such an amazing platform that I kind of really advocate for. I always say this to people who are looking for work or kind of want to grow their LinkedIn profile, that the same way that you post on WhatsApp and Instagram or Twitter should be the same way that you post on LinkedIn. So it doesn't always have to be serious stuff that went to a presentation and this is where the outcomes of the presentation, or something really hectic. You can even post memes, funny memes. Like I'm thinking of a funny HR meme that you might have bumped into, or some quote that somebody said to you that's quite interesting. Post that, because it really is a great platform where people can engage with your content. Either they agree or disagree. You can also engage with people whether you support a statement or not. It's a really great platform. It's a really great platform. So basically I think it's one of the amazing things you can do for yourself. So do your research, expand when you're getting in, do your research, expand your application pool. My first job that I got it off Peanuts, so I'm not sure if it's still as active or people still engage with it as much, but do expand your application pool, your networking pool. It's definitely going to help you get your name out there, make you visible, and have people engaging with you. Sometimes a connection won't always result in a job, but you can kind of get advice from people. What were their experiences? What companies have they applied for? And what was the process there? Should they prepare? All of that important information can kind of help you navigate the journey of getting in. The other thing that I will say while you're still looking at applying or kind of looking into different companies that you want to explore is to upskill yourself. With the internet, information is everywhere, and there's courses that you can do, free courses that you can access. If you add an advantage where you can get access to LinkedIn Learning, or going onto YouTube. I know that Google also has a learning platform, I'm just not sure what it's called, but you can access those type of resources. Get a quick course, an hour, 2 hours, that you just keep feeding yourself with information, keep feeding yourself with knowledge, whether it's in your career space or in another career space, because sometimes you get into, especially with our work in change management, you kind of have to know a lot about everything, or a lot about a lot of things. So You might find yourself in the financial institution or financial industry rather, and the next you're finding yourself in the retail industry. So you never know what environment that you're going into, so it's important to just expand your body of knowledge and information that you know about things. Right, so you can also go on YouTube and kind of search, because there's information everywhere. There's somebody who's had a question that you have, and you can use the internet to get access to that information and upskill yourself, prepare yourself, just feed yourself with information that will be helpful. It might not be useful now, but definitely in a conversation later you can mention something that you've read or a course that you've done that can contribute to a solution. Okay, so you've gotten in, and basically you're excited, it's fun, you've accomplished, you've achieved that milestone for yourself, and you're changing a career or you're changing a job, whatever it is that it might be. So basically what I would still emphasize is that do your research. Do your research about that particular company that you're going into, or even if it's a particular career change. I've always had a question mark, and I'm really glad that interviewing has kind of changed direction, or the approach has changed, because I've always wondered, why would you ask somebody who hasn't worked for the company what the company culture is? And you can do as much research on the company, on their website, on the different initiatives that they do, but you can't really base your interview questions on whether this person knows the company. They don't know the company. They've never worked for the company. Don't ask somebody about the company goals and the company KPIs and what the company has achieved in the past 6 years. I mean, that's information that's readily available, but I do think it's unfair to measure somebody's competence to do the work based on what they know about the company. So once you're in, that's your opportunity to then get access to information that is about the company, what the company seeks to achieve, and what the company's goals are, what initiatives that you can also now get involved in. So do your research about the company. How does the company operate? What are the processes? Like with my experience coming into the current job that I'm in, it's a completely different industry. And first of all, when I got in, you know, I got in and at a time where we kind of had to move, we had to start working. So I'm coming into a space where it's a different industry, completely different industry. So terminology is quite Greek. And on top of that, of understanding the industry, you need to understand the organization. How does the organization work? Some organizations call call their structures or refer to different structures as units or departments. Others term it other things. So you're sitting in a meeting and not everybody's gonna be or have time to not use the acronyms in a meeting that was started 2 years ago because you're new, you know. So you're kind of hearing terminologies and acronyms and abbreviations that don't make sense. So that was quite challenging. That was quite a lot. But I think what it taught me is that sometimes you just have to push. Sometimes you need to create the networks and the relationships for yourself so that you can ask the silly questions. Because when you come in, there's also a fear of, oh gosh, like, I hope what I'm asking is not stupid, you know, because some people have been working in this company for 20, 30 years. You're asking something as simple as like, what does this department do? And it's like, huh? So no question is a dumb question, but if you create that safe space for you with people, I think that helped me to be able to ask like those really quote unquote silly questions that can help you get that understanding that you need so that you can do your job. Because sometimes, especially in change management, you need to understand the process. You need to understand what was the current process and what is changing and why is it changing and how is it going to impact people. So if you don't have an understanding of the minor detail, it's going to restrict you from being able to paint a picture for the next person to say that, especially if that person works in that space and you're telling them that this is the change that they're going through. So it's very important to create those relationships, and that kind of helped me navigate that initial entry into the job, but it worked out, praise the Lord. Familiarize yourself with people, create the relationships. And another thing that I've noticed is that titles can add pressure, especially if you are not at an executive level and all of that. So sometimes take it out of your head. Protocol is important. Understanding who's who and who makes the decisions and who's the leader and all of that is very important, because you also don't want to make career limiting moves where you're talking anyhow with anybody. So be professional, be respectful at all times, but I think take away the fact that you're speaking to a CIO or a MD or a particular executive, and position yourself in a way where you can agree and also suggest other solutions, other approaches, or alternatives to points where you think you might not agree with. And I'm not sure if I'm putting this properly, but it's important to have a relationship where you can contribute without fear of I don't want to disagree with this person, because that doesn't help the process. And also that has to do a lot with the type of leadership culture in that particular organization. Are leaders open to suggestions? Are leaders open to having somebody who's not at their level give them an alternative solution to what maybe they proposed, or even contributing to a meeting that sometimes, for me personally, in my experience, I felt that it adds so much pressure that you kind of even think or get that imposter syndrome that what I'm going to contribute is not beneficial, or they're going to think it's stupid, and then you kind of silence yourself, which is not going to help you. So I think, and I'm actually quite grateful for a relationship where you're able to contribute, no matter how out of the box or stupid or unrealistic that contribution might be. But even if it's something that you've learned that we shouldn't be doing this, so it might not always be a solution on what we can do. It could be suggestions on what we can avoid based on your previous experience. Create the channels of communication for yourself, because it's a small bit of information that will help you kind of understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve. But so far my experience has been fairly good. There were days where I felt like I was drowning, where it was like, oh my god, what is happening? What am I supposed to do? So, but with that, you speak to people, and people kind of alleviate your concerns and alleviate some of your anxiety to tell you that, no, don't worry, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to, or how you're supposed to approach this problem. And I think it was a really intense test for me, a test in a sense that, how do I deal with pressure? How do I deal with the pressure of having to know something very quickly? And sometimes, like I said, there isn't time to walk you through step by step that this is how the process happens. So you kind of need to take information from a lot of places, and it taught me quite a lot. because it's pressure. So how do I respond to pressure? We're not gonna go into that, but it's really important to kind of put yourself out there. And I think this pushed me to a position or a place where I needed to think differently, think quicker, and I did experience some challenges, a lot of challenges, and that it kind of restricted my creativity, because you know what to do, but sometimes you just focused on this problem that you have, and then kind of feeds itself into other processes negatively, which is not good. So basically that's my advice in terms of getting into corporate, as well as navigating your way through it. But another thing or other elements that I'm starting to learn is that you need to be confident. You need to be confident in yourself. You need to be confident in what you know. You also need to be confident in what you don't know, because it's important to be vocal about that as well. Not knowing something does not mean that you're dumb. It does not mean that you are incompetent. The awareness that you have that you are not familiar with a particular process, please assist me with understanding this, or how do we do this particular transaction or this particular process. It's important to be aware, and it's important also for organizations to create a safe space for people to feel comfortable to say that I don't understand, or can you just elaborate on this point, because you sit back, you don't raise your hand, you don't go to the next person and ask what was that about, what were they talking about, or can you just explain this point? Because what I have figured out is that the more questions you have means the more understanding that you have. So when somebody tells you that A has switched to B, okay, why has A switched to B? Because now it's not going to make alphabetic sense, or based on what we've known, and then they explain further, and then you have another question. So that comes with understanding. That was a really bad example, but questions actually show that there's a more understanding that you're getting, if that makes sense. And that is the end of the video. I hope that you were able to get something from it. It's just my experience on what I've been going through for the past couple of months. It's been exciting, it's been challenging, but I'm growing as an individual, and I hope that this experience can feed something into you. And if you have experienced something similar, or there's something that kind of popped up or resonated with you, please do let me know in the comment section, and I'll be back with more content, work-related content. And I hope that you guys enjoy it and engage with it. If there's something that you would like for me to address as well, please do let me know in the comment section, and I look forward to engaging with you. Thank you guys so much. See you in the next one. Bye.